Welcome to the Knowledge Gumbo Podcast, the first episode. This is a place where we mix together timeless wisdom and thought-provoking stories using quotes, sayings, proverbs, and passages from books, primarily by Black women. I am your host, Alicia Thomas, and fellow knowledge seeker. Let's get cooking. Is something or someone being late relative? Let's look at it through the lens of this quote. Know that you can start late, look different, be uncertain, and still succeed. Let me read that to you again. Know that you can start late, look different, be uncertain, and still succeed. This quote is by Misty Copeland. Misty Copeland was the first African-American woman to be promoted to principal dancer in the American Ballet Theater's 75-year history. So let's break that down and look at first the question that I asked previously and set our terms for the word relative. When we think of relative, the definition is estimated by comparison. It's not absolute or complete. And what you're comparing it to is not the end-all definition. It's just something, a standard that you can kind of relate it to. Whereas the second definition of it, using it as an adjective, is properly related in size, degree, and other measurables, usually followed by the word to. So that would be like comparison, I'm a sports fan, Lamar Jackson to Josh Allen, okay? So when we think about the word late, or we look at the first part of that quote about starting late, it's relative to your mindset and to what you think of as being late. And I had issues with that in just starting this podcast. Am I too old to be doing this? Is it too late to start a podcast? You know, there's thousands upon thousands of podcasts out there. Does what I have come at the right time? Is there someone out here that's doing it better than me? And that's all a mindset of whether I'm thinking it's too late. Also, if you want to change your career and try something new, people will tell you you're too late. And you're like, why? I'm still breathing, aren't I? I believe as long as you have breath in your body, there is something here for you still to be done. Because people will put you inside of a box, but it's up to you whether or not you want to reside in that box or if you want to break out and do your own thing. Because at the same time, they might be saying to you, too late. They could be saying to someone else, you're too young, or you're too tall, you're too short. Don't let people confine and define your space, your capabilities. We look at the next section in that quote. It says, looking different. And when you think about it, looking different really means that you're confronting doubts, because everyone has their own standard and other people try to get you to live by that standard. Especially as Black women in the realm of beauty, the overall world has a standard, and parts of it, they tear us down for how we look, yet they spend money to get lips that look like ours. They get implants to have butts and hips that look like ours. But it's okay to be different. And Misty Copeland is definitely a poster child for that, because when you think of a ballerina, you think small, frail, thin. As you saw, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, that image that I showed of Misty, she is strong, muscular, powerful athlete and doesn't look like your typical ballerina. But that did not stop her from pursuing this dream. So it's okay if you look a little different than what people are used to. That is what makes you special. The other part of that is be uncertain. It's okay to have some doubts, but doubts shouldn't be a hindrance. It should just mean that you're paying attention, because you can step out on faith and be a little uncertain, meaning that you believe in the goal and where you're trying to go. And the uncertainty that is okay comes from not knowing every little step or every little road that you're going to have to take to get to the goal. You're uncertain how you're going to get there, because nothing is ever a straight line. So that's a little bit where the uncertainty comes from, but you believe in the goal and you're working to get there. even though you don't know exactly how that path is going to, what road or path that's going to take, you know that you'll never get there if you don't make a move, and that you have the confidence to know that if you get a little bit off track, but because you know what the end goal is, you can adjust, you can pivot and go in the direction that you need to go. The next part of that quote is, and still succeed. And with this part is knowing your goal, you have to define what success is for yourself. Can't let other people say what is successful. Otherwise, they'll be the puppet master and you'll be dancing to their tune. And the most important thing is define success for yourself at the beginning of the process, because that will regulate the things you say yes to. That will regulate the things you say no to. That will determine some of those steps that you take when you're not quite certain. You look at the goal, you look at what you define as success in getting to that goal, and that helps navigate the path, and it removes some of the fear and some of the uncertainty, because you have your why. You have, this is making me successful. An excellent example of that is Dave Chappelle, the comedian. He knew going in, and he tells a story of how his father told him to have a number in mind, to say, beyond this, you have to look at yourself again and see if this is what you really want to do. And people said he was crazy for walking away from that much money. But he knew going in what success looked like for him. And that amount of money and that amount of control over his show was not his definition of success. So it made it easy for him to walk away. While everyone else said he was crazy, and rumors started of whether he was of sound mind or he was on drugs or whatever. But no, he knew what his goal was. He knew what success was for himself. And he set those at the beginning so that he could walk away from that. And he's one of the few comedians today that can go out and do a show and he says exactly what's on his mind. He is not controlled by the dollar. He is not controlled by sponsors. He is free to do comedy the way he wants to do comedy. But as I said previously, the author of this quote, Misty Copeland, is a pure definition of this statement, especially the first part about starting late. Because when you look at most little girls who want to become a professional ballerina, they usually start taking ballet around the ages of 3 to 4 years old. And usually you don't start after 8, especially if you want to make this a profession. But Misty did not begin her ballet training until she was 13 years old. So she just blew that totally out of the water. She killed all those misconceptions of what ballerina should look like, how long she should be training for, whether or not she should be muscular and powerful. She is awesome woman. And one more thing while I'm thinking about it, she was the first non-major sports athlete to sign an endorsement deal with Under Armour. And she did this making more money from Under Armour than she was making from the ballet company. And that's a testament to when you're going towards your goal, you're doing the work, you're knocking out all the noise and the excuses from other people and other things. Good things come to you because she was diligent, she was powerful, and she knew what she attracted more good things that came into her life. And we have to definitely tip our cap to Misty Copeland. So let's look at that quote one more time. Know that you can start late, look different, be uncertain, and still succeed. As we wrap up this first episode, I want to challenge you with something here. What is the first step you will make today towards the dream you put in the back of the closet? I need you to comment on that below. You know those little dreams you had that you let little doubts or even big ones, whether it was your parents telling you couldn't do something, your best friend was telling you couldn't do something because they didn't want you to leave them behind. It could be any relative. It could just be a teacher that told you weren't good at something. And instead of encouraging you to work harder, they just tried to regulate you to a box that made them feel comfortable, that they could handle you as long as you were over there. I know where she is and what she can and cannot do if I put her in this place. Don't do that. Dust off one of your dreams and take a step today. It can be just a small step. Doesn't have to be big. I believe it's that story or an excerpt of a story that I remember from James Clear, who says it was a man who wanted to lose weight. And instead of making huge goals, his goal for the first couple weeks was just to get dressed, drive to the gym, do something for like no more than 5 minutes, and come home. So you can take small steps that build into habits, that build into systems that get you to where you want to go. So do me a favor and comment below with that. What first step are you going to make towards a dream that you've had that you've been putting off? Thank you for listening and or watching. If you've received some value from this episode, please join us for the next one. If you want some extra before the next episode, check out the Gumbo newsletter at aliciaTsays.com. That's ALICIATSAYS.com. The link will also be in the description for YouTube down below, because we want you to join our family and know that you are always welcome to pull up a chair. There's always room at the table. The gumbo is hot and made with love. See you next week.
Gather round, y'all. It's time to groove. Knowledge Gumbo's got the moves. So smooth. Wisdom and stories from our queen.